guys, it's Carolina here from KarolinasKrafts and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to use up these scraps from the It's Your Birthday collection by Echo Park, and this is like the girl version of the collection. They do have a boy one as well. For this video, I had already prepared some card bases, and my card bases measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. My black card mats I also prepared, and those measure 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So let's get started. I have all my pieces here and let's see what we could come up with. Alright guys, so anytime I'm going to be cutting out any pattern paper in this video, the width, if I'm going doing like a vertical card, the width will be 4 inches and the height will be 5 1/4. Just so you guys know, at some point I will be using smaller scraps, and I will try to tell you guys what size-ish scraps those are. But right now, what I'm doing is just trying to lay out how I want my pattern paper to go, and I started putting away, off to the side, some other pattern paper that I think will go nice together. So for this card, this is going to be a vertical card, and my pattern papers are going to go horizontally. So I am cutting them all down to 4 inches wide. And this is going to be great for this card, and that's going to fit perfectly onto my black card mat. I am using my ATG tape to stick everything down. I just love it for when I'm making cards. And I'm also using some gold foil paper scraps that I have in my stash. So I just cut some down, cut off like little strips, and I made sure the length of them was 4 inches because they will also be going onto my card base. So here I am sticking everything down. I got my pattern paper, then I'm doing like a gold foil piece, and I'm just gonna stick it all down. And you know, with the gold foil paper, obviously I can't use my ATG tape because it's very thin, but I did use my Barely Art glue, which you guys know is one of my favorite glues. It's like pretty much the only glue that I do use, so I will have that link down below. And if you use the code Carolina with a K, you will get 10% off your order. So I have a link to their website where you could get and use the coupon code where you could get that 10% off, but you could also find it on Amazon, and I also have it linked down below for Amazon as well if you prefer to buy it there. So now that my card base, my card base is done, I gotta figure out what kind of cut apart I want on the front cover. So I am deciding on this happy birthday to you card cut apart. It's like a little cut apart because that's all I had left from the collection, and there were just little ones in the 6x6 paper pad. And I'm just trying to figure out like how I want it because it kind of gets lost on that black paper background. But I thought because I'm matting everything onto black cardstock, maybe with the black cardstock layer it'll be a little bit better, which it is, but I still felt like it needed a little something. So now I am going through some additional scraps, trying to see how I actually want to do this. And I am going to settle on this minty colored paper, and I'm cutting it to be the same height as the other one, and just gluing that down onto some black cardstock as well. And then we will get that stuck down onto my card base, kind of like off-centered a little bit. Like they're not right next to each other, they're not, right on top of each other, they're, kind of in a diagonal, I guess. And then I thought I would use this like disco ball sticker from the sticker sheet just to add in a little bit of that mint on the right hand side. So I glued down the minty one, and for the cut apart I am adding some strips to the back just to make sure that it lays flat on my card. The mint layer adds another 2 additional layers, so I added 2 additional layers to the back of my cut apart so it lays flat when I go to put this down on my card, and so it doesn't look wonky or anything. So this card is not finished. I will be adding this like a little, I think I do end up adding a hat, yeah, this pink one, and I'm going to add him onto some black cardstock. And then you guys know how much I just love fussy cutting, so I do it a lot in this video. I really hate it, guys. I really hate it. Oh my goodness, I hate fussy cutting, but I do it because it just looks so good. And so yeah, I fussy cut around that birthday hat, and then I popped him up onto some foam tape. But what you guys are going to see in a second, I am going to want to put some enamel dots onto this card. However, I don't have have any white enamel dots like I need for my cards. So I'm actually going to end up making some of my own, which you guys are going to see in just a second here. But you guys just saw that I did stick down this pattern paper layer onto my white card base, and I stuck down my little hat. So I was trying to play around with some other stickers and see what else I could put in, but I decided, like, that's it. And this is where I'm looking for white enamel dots, and I didn't have any. So what I'm going to do is actually pull out my Nuvo drops, and I am using some white Nuvo drops. I'm doing like a little test batch onto some black cardstock, and then I'm going to pull out a silicone mat. I have like a set of 3 silicone mats. They're baking mats. I use the 2 larger ones for actual baking, and the smaller one I just keep in my craft room, and it's when I make wax seals and when I make Nuvo drops like this. So what I'm going to do is put all the Nuvo drops onto the silicone mat. I am going to tap it on my desk to flatten it out, and then I'm going to let them dry. That is my new enamel dots because I didn't have any white, so this will be my enamel dots, and they work fantastically. So if you have any Nuvo drops, definitely use them to make enamel dots. So that's just a great tip when you guys could do that too. So for my next card, my second card base, I realized I still have some 6x6 full papers in this collection, so I'm just trying to figure out like what I want to do next, and I decide I'm going to cut them on a diagonal. I think that's what I do here, right? No, maybe, I don't know. I'm cutting them to 4 inches wide by 5 1/4, and yes, I am going to cut this in a diagonal. And that is going to be my card. So I cut 2 pattern papers, and I'm going to flip them, and there we go. There is going to be 1 card, and I will make sure to use the other pattern papers on another card, but here I was kind of struggling because I realized one of the pattern papers has cut-aparts on the back, so I can't exactly use that other one the way I had wanted to or that I was thinking of using. So I'm just trying to piece these cards together, figure out what I want to do, and this is how they're just going. And I'm going to put them off to the side until I start sticking one down, which happens to be this one. So I put down this party layer down onto a black card mat. Then I'm going to take some gold foil, and then I think I also take the plaid paper. So I'm going to stick down this gold foil with just a strip of glue, because, yeah, do I do my my plaid paper next? I don't know, I think I do. But I'm going to cut off the edges, and you guys are going to see in a little bit I figure out a better way of cutting off all those edges, and oh my god, I don't know why nobody told me about it before, but you guys will see that in a second. So now I'm trying to figure out like what I need to do here, because I want to use that other party kind of paper scrap, and in order to do that, it's not going to be the whole entire background, so I still need something in the middle. So I just put a little mark, and then I cut it out, and now I am going to put down this plaid kind of paper design and stick him down, and I really like how this card is coming together. You know, sometimes you just got to think outside the box. I'm not following any card sketches or anything. I know there's a ton of people that film card making videos using up entire 6x6 paper pads, and you know what? Even though there's all that work involved to prepare to make those videos, and people use card sketches and stuff, it's like you're making the same card a bunch of times, and the card sketch oftentimes has a measurement of how to cut your paper. So those actually end up being a little bit easier than something like this, because this is like you only got scraps to work with, and you really got to figure out how to use them. So you come up with like these random designs, and they take forever, guys, to do. Like, people could make a whole entire pack of cards using a 6x6 paper pad in 4 hours, and here I am filming this video making 9 cards, which took me almost 3 hours to do just to make these 9 cards with my scraps. But anyway, I put down the plaid paper design, added gold foil paper, and then that other pattern paper that says party. Then I cut out this mermaid kind of cut apart, and I was thinking I'm going to use it on this card. Did I use it on this card? I don't know if I actually used it on this card or if I ended up using it on a different card, But I did, oh no, yeah, that's a different card. So I just matted it onto black cardstock, and then for this card in particular, I decided on this other cut apart that just says, I don't know, wishing hugs and kisses and birthday wishes. And I matted that onto some black cardstock, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of sticker I want. And ultimately, I will go for some balloons that are on the sticker sheet, which I will also mat onto some black cardstock and fussy cut around it, because I apparently love fussy cutting when I'm making these videos. I don't know. I'm always fussy cutting in these videos. So I go ahead and I fussy cut around that, and then you guys are going to see me playing around with how I actually want to put that onto my card. Like, I couldn't figure it out. This is actually a really cute card in the end, and it turns out adorable, but I was just having some hard times figuring it out while I was making it. But I finally fussy cut it out, and now I'm just gonna, oh wait, I didn't even put the other one onto a black card base or card mat that I thought I did, but now I'm doing that. So yeah, okay, so I'm playing around with where I want the balloons. I thought I want them on the bottom. They will ultimately go on the top, but yeah, I like them on the top better. And I wanted like that kind of cut apart in the center, so that's what I ended up doing. And I did add in that like minty colored sticker there onto my card base as well, just for like another little pop of color to tie in some of the other mints in the balloons. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my ATG tape and place this onto a white card base before I add in my balloons, because my balloons are going to get some foam tape. I prefer to add my card base or card mat to the card base while it's still flat, so I can lay down the ATG tape a little easier. It gets a little harder if you have layers on the card, which is why I do my embellishments kind of last with all the foam dimension. So I was playing around with some additional stickers that I was thinking I might want to use. So I put down this cupcake onto some black cardstock, and I fussy cut around him too. And then I do decide I'm going to add that onto this card mat as well. So I'm just adding in some patterned paper on the bottom just to make this lay flat. This one's not getting some additional foam tape dimension, but he's just going to lay flat with the rest of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and put that cupcake onto my card. So that completes my card number 2. Was that card number 2? I think it was. So now here we are with card number 3. So for this card, this is the card where I cut the pattern paper diagonal, and I wanted to use both sides of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that stuck down onto my black card mat. I did cut off a teeny little bit off of one of the layers just so I could get a gold foil kind of piece in the center there, which is what I'm doing right now, just so that it would lay flat and it wasn't like raised additionally, because if you don't have that, then it's just another layer on the card. But this way that I'm doing it, it lays flat with the card. Then I realized it's cut a little too long, so I just cut off a little bit more so that it can fit onto my card mat. And then what I discovered, this is what I discovered, guys. Instead of lifting up the paper and putting my scissors under it in order to cut it, I had this, it's called like a fingertip trimmer from Fiskars, and I don't know why I never thought of this. I could just use that to cut off my layers with my ruler and cut off like whatever is extra. Like I don't know why I didn't think of that before, to be honest. I don't know. But here I was struggling a little bit, because I was like, you know what, that layer that I just cut off is not straight. So I was trying to make it straight, and I ended up cutting off so much more, and yeah, it was just the whole thing. So I was kind of playing around with that for a little bit, but it worked out fine in the end. I am going to go ahead and cut off an additional, like a little bit of that black cardstock, because I cut off so much of that patterned paper that it was a little too long now. So I cut off a little bit more of the black card mat, and then I stick that down onto my white card base, and then cut off some of that white card base too. But you know what? Even though this card is supposed to measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, like it's minimally a little bit smaller. No one's gonna know, and it really doesn't matter that much. So now I took this cute little, what is that, a cat? I think that's a cat. And I put him onto this black cardstock, and here I am, again, fussy cutting, because I don't know why I do this to myself. I really need to figure out how to use my brother's scan and cut while I'm making these cards to make my life easier so I do not have to fussy cut. But I really like this cut apart that just says, you take the cake, and I like it with this card because it's got like that kind of coral color, and I think it matches with the card. Same thing with the cat. It's like the brown, it's like a brownish kind of corally color, and I think it works great with this card specifically. So for the background behind that, I am going to use another scrap with this black kind of patterned paper, and I'm going to put that in the background. And I like adding all these additional layers. I think it looks great, and you know what? I get to use even more scraps, but it looks good. So onto the cut apart, I am just adding some strips and some scraps of strips to the back to make it lay flat onto my card, and then I'm going to add it back on there. And then I will add my cute little cat, but I am going to pop him up onto some foam. And I'm just using this foam roll. This is actually from Dollar Tree. I will have it linked down below as well so you guys could see what the packaging and stuff looks like. And if you want to order online, I guess you could, but you could also just look for it in store. But I am going to have it linked for you guys in the description. And then with the Nuvo drops that I made earlier, I was just trying to see if they dried, but they haven't dried yet. So we're just going to keep going, and we're going to keep making some more cards. So this next card, I think this is card number 4, we are going to use that mermaid paper. This is just the back. I flipped it from one of the other cards. I think it had that coral background. So I just flipped it over, and now I want to use the mermaid side because I do want to use that mermaid cut apart that I pulled earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this diagonal piece down onto my card mat, and then I am going to add in some gold, some of that gold foil paper, just another layer there. And then I'm going to add in some of the coral paper. This is just another strip that I had, another scrap in my stash. And now I'm going to pull one of my 6x6 papers, which is the polka dot, and I'm going to cut it to the size that I need to fit onto my card. So I did have 3 full-size 6x6 paper sheets for these cards and most of these scraps, but I think it turned out really well. Like, you guys are going to see all my 9 cards, and I was not expecting to make 9 cards. I was expecting to make like 4, but then after 4, I don't know, I just kept on going. Which I'm happy I did, because not only did I challenge myself, but I was able to use up even more scraps and still create something super duper beautiful. So here I am going in with my fingertip cutter, I think it's what it's called, and now it's working so much better because I'm just able to like cut everything off, easy peasy. It's so great, guys, so I highly recommend it. I don't know why I didn't use it before, but it worked great for this. So I'm trying to play around with how I want some stickers to go onto this card, and I am going to add on these like coral, it's like another one of the disco ball looking things from the sticker sheet, and I just cut it in half and put it on 2 different sections of the card. I am going to add in some of this patterned paper as well that has that coral on there, and yeah, I like it. So I did take off one of the disco ball pieces because now, since I decided on that pattern paper layer, I didn't need that other piece there, but I like the pattern paper layer much better. So I really like how it looks. You guys could see, like, it really adds to the card when you just have all these other layers. And I don't know, maybe you guys think it's too busy, but I think it looks great. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think, because when I posted a card recently on Instagram, people said some of my cards were too busy, but I don't know. I like them. I like using scraps on my cards. I like how they turn out like this. I like the challenge, and it's just fun. It takes time, but it is fun, and I do enjoy making these cards using my scraps. So I went ahead and added my ATG tape to the back of that card. Oh, now I made 4 cards. Yeah, I think, did I say 4 cards before? I don't know. But I added my ATG tape to the back, and I matted it onto my white card base. And now my enamel dots were dry, so I'm going to go back in and I'm going to place these onto my cards. However, you guys are going to see that I run out of my Nuvo drop enamel dots again, and I'm going to have to make some more. So I stick down what I can, and I kind of like am looking at the sizes that I'm still going to need so I can make some more and have those dry. They do take a little bit of time to dry, but I think it was totally worth it. And especially because I didn't have any white enamel dots, so instead of ordering some, I was able to use what I already had in my stash and make some of my own. So I'm just kind of figuring out where I want all these Nuvo drops to go. I stick down whatever I can, and then you guys can see I am making some more so that the next batch can get drying. And I'm making, I think, 3 different sizes again, some smaller ones, medium, and some larger ones, and you guys are going to see when I tap it out, they do flatten out a little bit and expand and get bigger, and they're just so round and so perfect, and I absolutely love it. I'm definitely going to be doing this a lot more that you guys will see. So yeah, if you guys have Nuvo drops, give it a try. Alright, so now here we are on card number 5, right? So I had put aside this cute little cake paper, and I only have this little scrap left, so I did want to use it onto a card as well. So I liked it with the polka dots, and then I'm just trying to figure out what other kind of pattern paper I want in the center, but I forgot what I decide on, but I think it's another light one with a light white background. Yeah, this party one, that's what I do. So I have the cake paper, I'm going to put this party paper, and I have the polka dots, so I am using up literally like all my scraps. So that fit perfectly right there, and I'm going to go ahead and get that glued down with my ATG tape. And yeah, if you guys want an ATG tape runner, definitely get one. I highly recommend it. It takes some time getting used to use it properly, and at first mine would always just like mess up, but since I have used it more and more and got the hang of it, I absolutely love it. So I have my 3 strips of paper down onto my card. I am trying to figure out what kind of cut apart I want, and I decide on this pink one. I was thinking like the purple one at first, but I am going to decide with the pink one that just says happy birthday to you. And I'm trying to figure out what other kind of background piece I want behind it. But this is something that took some time to figure out, but I do decide on this pink background instead. I was trying to figure out with the black, but I liked that pink scrap instead, so I will put both of those onto some black cardstock and then cut them out again. Again, one of the big things with making these scrappy cards, like, you want to double layer everything. You want to layer everything onto whatever kind of card base color you're using or cardstock base color you're using. I'm using the black, and it just looks so much better when you literally line everything with that black. And if it was Christmas, I would probably do red, and I think red looks so much better than green does for Christmas cards. But every single layer, double mat it. It elevates the card so much rather than just looking like a bunch of pattern papers stuck together, in my opinion. I mean, you could do it the other way, but I highly recommend double layering it. So here I am trying to figure out what sticker I want on this card, and I decide on another cupcake that I need to fussy cut yet again. So I stuck him down onto the black cardstock, and I'm fussy cutting around it. Then I'm going to go ahead and get those pieces stuck down. I was trying to use that birthday girl sticker again, which I was trying to use before, and throughout all of these cards I could not figure out where I wanted to use it, so we don't end up using it, but I kept trying. You guys will see. I'm going to try some more later on. But I am adding 2 layers of some pattern paper to the back of that cut apart just so it lays flat, and I'm also sticking down the pink cut apart as well, and just making sure I like how it's laid out. And then I'm going to stick down that other one, and then we will also get this now. Well, I think I do I do the foam tape first? Yes, this time I did the foam tape first before sticking it down onto my white card base, but it was fine. It worked out in the end. So I took the cupcake, put some foam tape on the back, and now I am taking my ATG tape and putting tape on the back of that before I put it onto my white card base. So that completes card number 5. Now we have card number 6. So card number 6, I wanted to use some more of that polka dot paper so I could make sure to use it up. I'm cutting it 4 inches across. I don't care so much about the height, I just want it to fit on the card. But then I do decide I'm going to cut him around like 2, and I think I did like 2 5/8-ish, because the height is 5 1/4, so it's around 2 5/8 that those mats measured. So I'm going to go ahead and use some ATG tape to get those stuck down onto my black card mat. And I did decide I want a gold foil piece in between, which I could have cut those pieces a little shorter so that that gold foil piece laid flat, but that one is a little bit raised on this card. But it ends up being fine. I do use some more of that coral piece of scrap, and I cut him down just a little bit. I am using this cut apart that says it's party time, and I like the mermaid with this because it's got some of that coral background in some of the papers I chose, and the mermaid sticker has like the coral hair, so I thought that went perfectly. I am going to play around with the orientation of this card, and we are actually ultimately going to decide on making this a horizontal card instead of a vertical card. And yeah, you guys are going to see how that turns out. But right now I am fussy cutting around this mermaid, and I decided also not only to fussy cut around the outside, but then I'm like, there's that black piece in the center between its tail, and I need a fussy cut around that too. So I got to get my scissors in there, and I got to fussy cut around that. I don't know, guys. You guys would think probably that I like fussy cutting. With all the fussy cutting that I'm doing in this video, you would think that I enjoy it, but nope, quite the opposite, guys. But I do it because it just looks great. So I am playing around with how I want the pattern paper to lay on this card, and I decide on like the coral paper to lay on the whiter side so that the white cut apart could lay on the black side of my pattern paper. And so I get that stuck down. With the cut apart layer, I do also add some scraps to the back because now we've got those two additional layers from the coral paper, and so I need to even it out so that it lays flat. So I add 2 layers of scraps to the back of that, get that glued down, and then I'm going to start getting some foam tape onto my mermaid. And I'm putting foam tape on most of my mermaid except for the tail part that touches onto the cut apart. And for that layer, I'm going to use some smaller foam dots instead of like this thicker foam, because I don't need as big of a layer and it would have been uneven. So I use this thinner foam dot layer on that piece just so it still lays flat. And I love how this card turned out, guys. I actually did forget to mat this onto my white card base first, but it's fine because it actually works out and I was still able to get it onto my white card base afterwards, even with those foam layers that I thought was going to be tricky. But I really like how this card turned out. I think it's just so cute, with the mermaid especially. So now we are on card number, I don't know, now I lost track. Is this card number 6? I don't know. But this card is probably my least favorite. So I end up taking a bunch of my smaller scraps of paper and cutting them about 2 by 2 inches. Some of them are a little bit different depending on the size that I had, but I'm going for and aiming for 2 by 2 and just kind of playing around with how I want them laid out on my card. And at first I was thinking like maybe they should be, you know, lined up one right under another, but then I decided I kind of want to offset it and not have them all lined up in like a straight line. I mean, they are in a straight line, but I don't have them all one on top of one another. So I'm just playing around with this card design. Again, it is my least favorite, and some pieces end up being a little too short, so I do end up adding in a gold foiled paper strip, which you guys are going to see. But right now, I'm going to use my Barely Art glue because these pieces are a little bit too small to use my ATG tape. But I'm going to use my Barely Art glue and get everything stuck down onto my black card mat. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and yeah, you guys are going to see the whole entire process of me gluing it down. So this piece that I'm gluing down here, this plaid paper, is a little too short, as you guys could see. So at first I was trying to figure out how I could cover that up with the cut apart, but I was like, no, I can't really cover it up with the cut apart because it's all the way on the end. So I decided on adding in some gold foiled paper to get that covered up. Then I am going to use this cut apart that just says somebody told me it's your birthday, and I like him on this card, so I'm going to use him. And I'm putting him onto some black cardstock as well as that balloon paper scrap that I found laying around in my scraps, and I'm going to use that as an additional layer on my card behind the cut apart, and that just kind of breaks up some of those squares just a little bit because now we got a rectangle. Everything else is I mean, there are some rectangles there, but you know, they're smaller. So I thought that breaks it up just a little bit. I am adding in some scraps to the back behind that cut apart as well because you guys know I need to make it flat and so that it lays flat. So I add in 2 layers of scraps before I glue that down completely onto the card mat, and then I put some ATG tape onto the card mat, and now I'm going to stick it down onto a card base. So out of the whole entire bunch, this is my least favorite card, but you know what, it still works, it's fine. So I end up adding, I think, a couple of stickers. Yeah, so I add that little red one down there in the corner, and I think I also add in a cupcake. I can't decide, I don't know right now, we'll see. No, I don't do that one either. No, I didn't do it. Okay. So now, I don't know, I lost track of what card we're up to. Maybe this is card number 7, maybe 8, I don't know. So this card, I am using up some more of those longer strips of paper, and I'm getting those stuck down onto my card mat. These measure 5 1/4 in height, but I was like, I don't have any more. I have that one, and then I have like this other piece, so I cut down this other piece however much I needed to fit onto my card mat. You guys saw I kind of marked it with a pencil where I needed to cut, and I decide I need another piece in between those 2 layers. So yeah, we are literally just paper piecing. That's what this scrap card making videos are, paper piecing and kind of figuring out what looks good on my card. But for this card base, I did decide to use that purple cut apart that just says have a, I don't even know what that says, guys, to be honest. Have a something birthday, and there's a little cat on it, but it's got like a purple background, which I felt didn't really go too well with this collection. I mean, yeah, there's some papers that have some purple, but there was no like full papers with a purple background. So I ended up playing around with this sprinkle paper that has like the pink. I put him onto some black cardstock, and then I decided I'm going to go with that. So I put that larger layer in the back, that rectangle, and then the cut apart, and then that strip in the center is still a little bit smaller, so it's kind of going from like largest to smallest, and I think that turned out pretty good in the end. I do add some layers of scrap paper to the back of that cut apart as well, like I have been doing on pretty much all of my cards, and I like how this one turned out as well. I will add in enamel dots off camera because they weren't dry throughout the rest of the video, so I will do it off camera and you guys could see in my project share video what all the full cards looked like with the insides somewhat embellished as well, because they did go back and add in some additional scraps to the inside, or I added some stickers to the inside, so you guys will see what that looks like in another video. So then I was showing you guys that I still have like this larger scrap left over that had some kind of cut aparts on the other side, which you guys are going to see. I'm still going to make one more card. But before I do that, I am taking this cupcake, put him onto some black cardstock, and I'm fussy cutting around it because I thought that would go good on this card with some of that purple, because that's literally like the only sticker that had some purple in it, and I just thought it went well. So I end up sticking him down. Then we are going to go on to my next card, which the background here was the rest of my cut apart paper. I stick it down onto a black card mat, and then I take another scrap of that black paper, put him down onto a black card mat, and then I have this sprinkle paper strip, and I was like, I really want to use it because I really like that sprinkle paper. So I add some layers to the back so that it lays flat on the card. And then I'm going to use this cut apart that just says life is sweeter with sprinkles. I'm going to add some layers to the back of this card as well, just so it lays flat, and get that stuck down. And I like how this one turned out too. This one was like a really quick card actually. I didn't have a lot of scraps left. I just had that larger piece because, you know, I was trying to use the cut aparts at first, but then at some point, like, I just needed to be done with the paper, and I didn't have any additional paper to work with except for that, and so I couldn't make anything with all those cut aparts because I didn't have any more paper. I mean, I could have if I found some other individual sheets in my stash, but I like how this turned out, so I just flipped it on the other side and turned it into a card base. We added some gold gemmies, and I think that turned out pretty cute too. So I like how it turned out. Then I was trying to figure out how I could use these donuts on the card because they're like the only thing that had sprinkles from the sticker sheet. And I was like, you know, there's a cut apart that says life is sweeter than sprinkles, but then we only have donuts that have sprinkles. Like everything else was like either a ginormous cake, which didn't really have sprinkles, so I decided on using the donuts. The larger one I cut in half, and the smaller one I just matted onto the black cardstock as well as the larger one, but I did cut the larger one in half, popped the smaller one onto some foam, and just placed the donuts around on my card. And I really like how it turned out. I thought this was like a quick, fun card, and I do like how it looks and how it turned out. So that completes card number 9, and then here's just like an overview of all of the cards that we created. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this whole entire process video. It was a lot of talking for me doing this voiceover. If you guys also want to check out the longer version of this video, I do have that available, all 2 hours and 30 something minutes long, where you guys could watch the full entire process video, but this was just a sped up version, sped up into a little over 30 minutes long. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this inspires you to use your scraps and create something beautiful. And I will see you guys in my next crafty video. Talk to you soon. Bye!